The objective for today. Today we're going to be talking about solving for the unknown angles with using equations. The objective is going to be very similar to what we did yesterday, in that we're going to be talking about the unknown angles as far as complementary, supplementary, vertical, and adjacent angles through class discussion. So let's go ahead and look at the first problem that we're going to be looking at for today. Okay, the problem says the problem says 2 points meet at a point. No. 2 lines meet at a point. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant angle relationships in the diagram. Then find the values of R, S, and T. Well, first off, R and S. We're looking at angle R and angle S. What kind of relationship are those? Those are a couple different things if we're looking at R and S. So, I look at angle R and angle S. I can see that they're adjacent. I can also see that they are supplementary to each other. Okay. Now, I can also see the same thing with S and T. So, I could say the same thing about S and T. That they are adjacent. And they're also supplementary angles. Now, angle R and angle T are vertical angles. And I would expect to see all of this in a complete sentence. Now, let's go through and find the angle measurements. Well, I can see that if this angle here is 25 degrees, that is vertical to angle S. So I know that angle S is also 25 degrees. It has to be because they're vertical angles. Now, since I know that S and T or S and R are supplementary angles, I know that they have to equal 180. So I can take 180 minus 25, which will give me 155 degrees. So if angle R is 155 degrees, that has to mean that angle T is also 155 degrees. Okay, and that's just a quick review from what we talked about on the previous lesson. Okay, the next problem we're going to look at. 2 lines meet at a vertex of a ray. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant relationships in the diagram. Set up and solve a equation to find the values of P and R. So angle P and R are seen on the straight line. So angle P and angle R, we can already see, are adjacent, and they're also supplementary to each other. Okay. Now, we need to set up an equation. Well, that I know that angle R is a vertical angle for these two here. So I can say that angle R equals 28 plus 16. And 28 plus 16 is 44. So I can say that angle R is going to be 44 degrees. Now, to find angle P, I can say that angle P plus 44 degrees has to equal 180. Now, I need to get P by itself. How do I do that? I have to subtract or add the opposite of my constant, which is 44, which is a negative 44. So I add negative 44 to both sides. When I do that, angle P is going to equal 136 degrees. So angle R, 44 degrees. Angle P, 136 degrees. Okay? So far, pretty easy. Let's look at the next problem. 2 lines meet at a... Okay, says 3 lines meet at a point. Angle AOF equals 140 degrees. So this angle right here, AOF, equals 144 degrees. In a complete sense, describe the relevant angle relationships in the diagram. Set up and solve an equation. Well, there's a ton of them. I have angle AOE is complementary to angle EOC. That's one. I have angle AOE is supplementary to angle AOF. Okay, there's a lot of them here. So you need at least describe two relationships that you see within the drawing. Now it says to set up an equation to solve to find the value of angle C is what we're looking for. I know that kind of went over, but we're looking for angle C. This angle right here. Okay. Well, I know that angle C is a vertical angle to this angle here. Okay. I also know that this angle right here is 90 degrees. Why do I know that? Because it's vertical here. So I can say that angle C plus 90. Why 90? Because this angle here is 90. I know that by this 90 degree symbol right here is vertical right here. So if I do that, both those angles together, this angle here and this angle here, equals this whole angle, which we already said was 144 degrees. You go through the same thing. I need to get C by itself. I got to get rid of my constant. My constant's 90, so I add a negative 90 to both sides. When I add a negative 90 to both sides, I'm going to get C equals 54 degrees. Okay. All of this is just simply solving the equation, setting the equation up, and then solving it. Let's look at one more. Two lines meet at a vertex of a ray. The ray is perpendicular to the line shown. In a complete sense, describe the relevant relationship in the diagram. Set up and solve an equation to find the value of t. Well, first off, I can see that angle T is going to be vertical from this angle of 26 degrees and this angle of 90 degrees. So I'm going to use my vertical equation, which I know that I can set these two angles equal to this angle, and that's going to help me solve. So I have angle T equals 26 plus 90. Okay, why 90? Because that's, again, it's the 90 degree symbol. I know that's 90. So when I have 90 plus 26, or 90 plus 26, that's going to equal 116 degrees. So if these two angles here are 116 degrees, that has to mean that angle T is also 116 degrees. Okay, I hope this is starting to make sense as far as how we're getting this solved. Okay, I know it's kind of hard to read up top, but it's saying two lines meet at a common vertex of two rays. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant relationships in the diagram. Set up and solve an equation to find the value of x. And then once you do that, they want you to find the measurements of angle AOB and angle BOC. So there's a couple things that we're doing here. Number one, looking at the relevant relationships, I know that this is 90 degrees. I know that this is 25. Okay? I can see that the angles here, these two angles, are vertical to these two angles. Okay? So I'm going to use they're vertically opposite. I'm more concerned that you can understand that they're vertical angles. So I'm going to set them up so they're equal to each other. I have 2x plus 3x equals, because I have to equal the other angle, 90 plus 25. So combine my like terms. I have 2x plus 3x is 5x. And then I have 90 plus 25, which is 115. So now I have 5x equals 115. I divide by 5 on both sides. Remember, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So I have 115 divided by 5 is 23. Okay, now that's part 1 of this, or actually part 2. Part 3 is I had to find the measurements here. So I have to go 2 times 23. Okay, which is, well, let's work it out. You know, I don't like that. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 4, or 2 times 2 is 4. So this angle here is 46 degrees. And then I have 3 times 23. So I have 23 times 3. That's 9, and that's 6. So this is 69. When I add those two together, they will equal 115 degrees. So here's one angle, and here's the other angle. All right? So we're going to go through, I think I have one, I have one more problem that we're going to go through. Complete sentence describe the relevant relationships in the diagram. Step in, solve an equation to find the value of x. Find the measurements, then find the measurements of the two angles. Okay, well, first off, I can see pretty clearly that these are complementary angles, which means that if I add this angle here and this angle here, they're complementary, they have to equal 90 degrees. So that's how I'm going to set my equation up. Make sure you have written that in a complete sentence. So I have 5x plus, my next angle is 2x plus 20. That all has to equal 90. Combine your like terms. I have 5x plus 2x, which is 7x, plus 20 equals 90. I subtract my constant first, so I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. So I have 7x equals 70. Now, is x by itself? No, it's not. How are you going to get it by itself? I have to divide by my coefficient, which is 7. So I'm going to divide each side by 7. And I get x equals 10. Now, that answers my question for x, but doesn't tell me what this is. So I'm going to put my value for x back in. So 5 times 10 is 50. And then I have 2 times 10 plus 20. 2 times 10 is 20. And 20 plus 20 is 40. And 50 plus 40 is 90. So this angle here is 50 degrees. This angle here is 40 degrees. And it falls within the complementary definition that two angles you add together equal 90 degrees. Okay, now here's your first quiz question. 3 lines meet at a point. In a complete sentence, you need to describe the relevant angle relationships in the diagram. Set up and solve an equation to find the value of A. Number 1. Number 2, you have 3 lines that meet at a point. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant relationships in the diagram. Set up and solve an equation to find the value of x. And your last quiz question. 2 lines meet at a vertex of a ray. The ray is perpendicular to the lines as shown. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant angle relationships in the diagram. You may add labels to the diagram to help with your description of the angle relationships. Set up and solve an equation to find the value of V. Make sure you not only bring your notes, but also the answers to these 3 quiz questions to class.